Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Grounded. My name is Brian Boyd. Today's topic is follow the plan. Before we dive into this episode, I would love to thank everyone for tuning in, and I truly hope and pray that with this, God will inspire you to continue following after the plans that you placed on your heart and the things that you know, so that you will continue to be prosperous in the way that He's sending you. With all of that out of the way, everyone, let's go ahead and dive into the topic of the day titled Follow the Plan. And this is an episode that simply came from one singular verse in the Bible, and it is Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. It's a very popular one, and it reads in the words of the Lord. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Ladies and gentlemen, with the verse here, God is simply expressing to the children of Israel at this time the things that He has, letting them know that He has good intentions, letting Him know that He has good plans for them, and He has things that are meant to prosper them and not bring them harm, things that will allow them to enjoy the goodness of life and not all of the bad. And I believe that when people typically cover this verse and they typically talk about it in terms of motivational purposes or qualities, or even in praise breaks throughout church services or sermons, I think that one of the oftentimes is that people truly overlook the significance of this verse and the significance of the story that's around this. Because if you look in the book of Jeremiah as a whole, this is a book where God sends Jeremiah the prophet in order to tell the children of Israel to turn for their ways and to turn back to the Lord, or else He's going to lead them into captivity. And as we get to this particular point in this particular chapter, the children of Israel have done just that. God has led them, to be overthrown by Babylon and taken into captivity. And in the midst of this, God tells them, that although you have been taken away, although you have been enslaved, although you are in exile from the land that I have given you and promised you, I still want you to live good. I still want you to prosper. I still want you to be productive. I still want you to have wives and be married and raise families. I still want you to grow gardens and build homes. I still want you to live as you've been in a prosperous state, as if you're still back in Israel. And then this is going to happen for 70 years. And once the 70 years is over and you pray to me and you seek me, I will be found and I will bring you back to Israel. I will bring you back to the promised land and I will establish you there. And when you look at that and you take all of those things into consideration, it really shows just how much God cares for us and just how much He makes provision for us, even in some of what we consider some of the most difficult times of our lives. And that's exactly why this episode is titled Follow the Plan, because there are three things that come along with any plan, and specifically plans from God that we can take, and we can take them right from this chapter and more or less right from this verse as well. And the first thing that I want to touch on today is the fact of you have to know the plan. And this is what God explains to them, because from verse 6 through 10, He tells them that He's brought them into this place. But once again, they're supposed to continue to prosper. They're supposed to get married and have children and plant gardens and build homes and, enjoy the things and pray that the land that they're in, although they've been taken hostage, continues to have peace and prosperity. Because if the land prospers, if Babylon prospers, then they will end up prospering as well. And that's the thing about it here, because you have to know whatever it is that you're doing in life. You have to know the end goal. You have to know the things that you're supposed to do. And you have to assure that you follow those things, because those are the things that's going to bring you through at the end of the day. And that's what God wanted them to know, that if you do all of these things, and the second point of this is to keep following and accept those things that God wants, then He's going to bring those things to pass. And one of the things that follows here as well is that God told them that there would be prophets and diviners that would come up and tell them otherwise. They would tell them the things that they wanted to hear, that they wasn't going to be in captivity for 7 years, that they wasn't going to be as bad as they said it was. But He told them to do not listen to those people. Don't accept the words that they're saying, because if you accept their words and you accept the lies that they're telling you, then they're going to throw you off from the stuff that you're doing. And you don't want that stuff to happen, because God has already established a promise for them. All right. And then then that's what it happens even to our personal lives, because there are going to be times and things that God are going to give us plans and we're going to follow them. But there are going to be things that come, and they don't have to necessarily be people. They could be situations. They could be, things and circumstances that will try to pull us away from what we're supposed to do. But regardless of that, we have to remember what it is that we're out to accomplish. We have to remember what we're supposed to do to accomplish those things. And then we have to stay dedicated towards fulfilling them. And, it's funny, even thinking about this and thinking about Grounded as a whole, if I ever sum up the message of what this podcast is about, it's truly that. In a nutshell, understanding what it is in life, understanding who you are, understanding the things you need to do to get to your destination, as far as having a relationship with God and accomplishing the things that he wants you to do. And then last but not least, following those things through until the end. And that more or less brings me to the last point of this episode. The first being knowing the plan. The second one is accepting the plan that God gives you. And then the last one is to simply follow the plan without having any doubts or reluctancies to do so, okay? And in this, once again, God tells them everything that they need to do, that if they follow the plan, if they continue to be prosperous, they continue to pray and build and get married and have families, and they wait those 70 years out, then pray to him at the end and he will bring them out. Like, it's as simple as it can be. And when you look at their time, even biblically speaking, in Babylon, Israel pretty much prospered during that period, because while they did have hardships at the beginning, God had really worked on the heart of Nebuchadnezzar at that point. And he actually, Nebuchadnezzar himself, it said, ended up following God. And, Babylon became a great place for a while and for a time. But the thing here is that you have to be able to trust the stuff that God is wanting you to do, because even in some of the worst circumstances of your life, he can turn those things around. You may be in the midst of some of your greatest challenges, and yet in the midst of that, you can still be prosperous. You can still grow and learn and evolve as a person. You can even learn from the mistakes of what happened. And for Israel at this time, they had a lot of mistakes. They had to learn that, not following the Lord could lead to these types of consequences. And only by following him and dedicating their lives as his chosen people, as his children, that they would end up being prosperous in the end. And that's really what this lesson was, because God said that this was ultimately his plan. He wanted his children to be able to live and work with him. And at this particular point, the only reason he led them into captivity was to gain their attention, because they wasn't listening to him, because they wasn't following him, because they did not have a relationship with him. And he put them here so that they can realize that this is the things that they needed to do. And then at the end of that, he's going to establish and reestablish the relationship that he had with them, because this time they're choosing to have that relationship with him. They're not doing it out of force, but they're doing it simply because they love and miss the God that they served and the God that had chosen them for out of all the nations in the world. And honestly, everyone, that's something that we have to get to on our walk as well, if we believe in God, because, God, out of all the things that he gives us to do, the biggest thing he wants to do is have a relationship with each and every one of us. And it's only by having that relationship with him that we inherit everything else, that we inherit the good of the world, that we inherit, the things that he truly wants us to have, and we truly become the people that we're ultimately supposed to be. But with that being said, that was pretty much it. It's really, really a short episode, not too much to expand on today. As I mentioned in the episode, and, the title pretty much explained it, follow the plans that God has placed on your heart. Follow the things that he's told you to do. Accept those things for what they are, accept the conditions and the actions that come with them. And then last but not least, follow all of those things until the end, and you'll be successful in whatever it is that you do. And everyone, as I said, the thing about following God's plans and following the things that he have is that you don't always know the time it's going to take for those things to be fulfilled. And in this particular time, he actually gave them a period of 70 years, but there are going to be times where it's not as concrete and as solid. But if you continue to do all of those three things, not even knowing when those things will be fulfilled, you will ultimately get to where God wants you to be, in the place that you ultimately desire to achieve. All right. And all you have to do is just stay faithful, stay dependent on him. And then last but not least, just complete the actions and stuff as they come, knock down the challenges, and continue to do exactly what he told them. If you're a person and you want to have a family, continue to go after that. Have a family, continue to build, continue to grow, continue to cultivate your life in all aspects. And then last but not least, continue to pray and be prosperous in everything that you do. And you'll definitely get to where you want to be. But anyway, that's pretty much it, everyone. I thank you all for tuning in today. As always, I love each and every one of you, and I truly hope and pray that this episode has inspired you in some way. And if it did, please be sure to like and share this episode across all social media and podcasting platforms. With that being said, I love you all. Take care, be blessed, and I will see you all next week. All right. My name is Brian Boyd. Y'all have a good night.
Hey everyone, Brian here once again. Thank you so much for tuning in to Grounded. If these messages have been a blessing to you, please consider donating at thegroundedpodcast.com/donate. Furthermore, if you're looking for books and journals and other resources that will help improve your life, business, and relationships, please be sure to check those out at thegroundedpodcast.com/store. As always, it's been a blessing. I truly love each and every one of you, and I truly hope to see you all once again very soon. All right.